Right, I think that's enough unreliable infrastructure for one show. The Pyrenees can at least be counted on to stay in one place, and there are 4 of them on today's route, starting with the biggest, the 2,115-metre Col du Tourmalet. That's followed by the Orcat d'Ancison, the Val Laurent-Azay, and the Col de Peyresourde, from the top of which...
And now he started to improve in that domain.
For my money, you might find Alejandro Valverde launched himself when he's got Quintana safely over the top. It's the climb, Quintana, Froome, Van Garderen climbing at 10 miles an hour, fluctuating on the gradients at around 8%.
Yeah, so this is an average gradient, the climb of around about 7.5%, but there are a couple of points where it creeps up to 12 and 13%. I'm just trying to get a quick glimpse of the wind direction, because that can actually affect a climber like Quintana. If it's a tailwind, he'll feel more likely to go out on the attack. If it's a headwind, it is actually something that goes against the climbers, who are riders who have great explosive ability on the slopes of a climb, but not into a headwind.
There's a number of bike riders in this group that we haven't talked about, like the Belgian rider, Jurgen van den Broek. He's the rider that perhaps people are not looking towards, who could slip away on the way down to Luchon.
Yes, and Jurgen van den Broek's lost a little bit of time in the overall standings. He's in 17th place overall. He's around about 15 seconds down on the top spot, but he's a rider who this year doesn't have the pressure on him. I spoke to his team just before the start of this race, and they said, no, Jurgen van den Broek, he's tried to ride in the overall standings in the past, but here he's come to look after Joaquim Rodriguez, and this is the kind of finish that Joaquim Rodriguez would be looking for, except for one reason, except for one thing, and that is tomorrow he finishes in Andorra, and that is where he lives, so he will know the climb so much better than anybody else. Looking at the leading group, we've got 5 riders from Sky, 3 riders from BMC, Movistar, AG2R, Tinkoff and Astana. Only 2 riders from Trek Segafredo, 1 from Quickstep and 1 rider from FDJ. So Sky, for the moment, are in the strongest position.
Looking down the peloton, no movement at all in the way of a counter-offensive. And as long as Sky keep this up, I'm not too sure there will be anybody trying to take them on.
Just a quick glimpse there.
Cameraman again.
This cameraman, yeah, sorry, Phil. This cameraman has been on the tour for the last couple of days, and he's part of the International Cycling Union. They're still looking to try and see whether they can prove that motors are being used. Rafael Majka, well, there should be a glory for him at the end of today. He should be climbing into the King of the Mountains leader's jersey with a single point over Thibaut Pinot. His job done looking after Alberto Contador.
If he has a motor on the bike, he just ran out of gas.
Well, I think it's good, Phil, that they're bringing this technology into look, but I'm pretty sure that nobody at this level of the sport has been tempted to use an onboard motor, because they would have to have the complicity of one of the manufacturers, and I don't think any of the manufacturers would think about trying to do that, because you've got to think about the negative publicity if they got caught.
If a bicycle from a manufacturer was found to have a motor in it, I think the manufacturer's future would not be good. Tangut is also, Tanel Kangut here has also gone as well, the Astana rider, and slipping now towards the back. We've got Wout Poels also dropping off for Team Sky. This looks like the top of Alpe d'Huez to me, the way we're going downhill.
Well, one of those scary takeoff strips here in the Pyrenees. There's some nasty strips like that, and you have to really, I think, be rather a brave pilot to take off from that point.
Well, you just need to get your light aircraft up to about 85 knots and you'll get airborne, and if you land, you come the other way, so it makes sure you stop in time. Did I tell you I used to fly?
Oh, you certainly did, yes, on a number of occasions.
Nice steady progress for Team Sky, but one by one they're seeing their riders fall away. Chris has got 3 left here. Quintana is locked into Chris Froome, the 1-2 of last year's Tour de France. He's the latest victim of the pace. Wout Poels, don't forget he had to rejoin earlier on. Now he's saying, no point, I'm going to drop off now and ride to the finish, because tomorrow is one heck of a day for the Sky team for sure.
Well, finally, they've dropped another man. They're now inside of 5 kilometers to go to the summit of the climb. That's around about 3 miles of racing. It should take them less than about 12 to 13 minutes. But surely there will be an attack coming from this group, because somebody will be thinking and dreaming about a yellow jersey at the end of the day. Chris Froome moves up into 4th position there. And actually, not too far away from him is Nairo Quintana, always waiting and always very attentive.
Climbing steadily at just over 10.5 miles an hour, so about 17 kilometers an hour. They're going up the Col de Peyresourde, which is incredibly fast in my opinion. But we're still unhooking riders. It looks to me now as though George Bennett might be struggling there too at the back. The New Zealand rider's having a great day. There he is in yellow, hanging on at the minute. Another rider dropping here is Damiano Caruso from Team BMC. Remember, those yellow helmets mean they're the team leaders, but by the end of this day, Team Sky will be wearing those yellow helmets.
Well, there are still 2 riders in that group from Team BMC, but there are still 4 riders in that leading group from Team Sky. So they really are proving their dominance on this first day. And this day, Phil, will have left a certain amount of fatigue in the riders when you bear in mind what is in store tomorrow. It's so funny when you talk to all of the contenders, nobody can read how Chris Froome is, and his body really doesn't give anything at all away. No. But on the other hand, if you look into the face of Nairo Quintana in the blue and green jersey on the right-hand side, with those large sunglasses on, you can't read any emotion at all on his face.
It looks pretty good to me just at the moment, and there's plenty of room for surprise as they continue to climb between 8 and 11 miles an hour, fluctuating all the time. The gradient here, 7%. Well, this is goodbye to Jon Izagirre now, who's did a lot of the pacemaking for Quintana, but he's lost another man on the climb.
Yes, a man who just recently was in 2nd place overall in the Tour of Switzerland. His job done for the afternoon for Team Movistar.
Well, this is sensational pacemaking at the moment, and they are trying to ride these riders off the back wheel of Team Sky.
They're starting to wind it up now. Just look at the pedalling style of Mikel Nieve, and the reason for that is they want to try and eliminate as many riders as possible. You can see the majority of the riders in this group, Phil, they've all got a number 1 at the end of their number, and that indicates that these are the leaders of their respective teams.
Sam Bennett doing the ride of his life, tagged onto the back here. A lot of Spanish accents on that climb, I must say. Well, there are some people not interested in the race. That's down to about 30 riders at the most at the moment on the climb of the Col de Peyresourde. Last first category climb of the day, but we go through it all again tomorrow with the finishing climb right on top of Arcolis in the Principality of Andorra. A really tough day tomorrow. And George Bennett, we are just being told by Race Radio, has just been left by the group.
Well, I can spot on the right-hand side there in the dark blue and black jersey that little nodding style of Dan Martin. Now, he's a very astute rider, Dan Martin. I just feel that he has so much more confidence this year. He swapped onto this new squad, the Ethics Quickstep, who've given him the confidence. There you can see what we heard on Race Radio a few moments ago. George Bennett already in a little bit of difficulty. This is a surprise, though, Phil, to see Yarlinson Pantano, the Colombian climber on IM Cycling. You see, the Team Sky is now starting to turn up the screws and really put pressure on everybody.
And the rider just here from Bora is Emmanuel Buchmann. He came in as a young sensation last year, and he looks as though he's struggling now, but it is a very select group he's being dropped by. Still a long way to climb up this climb as well.
Well, Team Sky now really turning up the pressure as the main group here starts to stretch out. And look at these riders. You can see at the back, all of a sudden 1 meter appears, 2 meters appear, and then all of a sudden you're off the back and left up to your own devices.
Buchmann, I think, has given best here, former champion of Germany, as he drops away. And in fact, there's now only 25 riders left in this group, and make it 24 because they are coming off fast and furiously. It's Reichenbach, I think it was.
Yeah, he's been riding well over the last couple of months up in the mountains, and he, in fact, was brought into FDJ to look after Thibaut Pinot in the big mountain stage as well. There may well be a role reversal at the end of today. Warren Barguil, number 111, the rider from Giant Alpecin. Now he too is starting to feel the pressure. I mean, it's quite deceptive to just sit here and look at these riders and wonder how fast they're going up the hill. But when you see riders of this pedigree going off the back, and when you look at that face, you know it's hard out there.
This man finished 14th, had a sensational Tour de France last year, his first tour. This is his second tour, and he's really trying to hang on to get onto that descent down to Luchon. It's a pretty good descender, actually. He might need to be now if he gets unhitched. The American in the red jersey out there too, see TJ Van Garderen on the left of our picture. He's in a good position, and he hasn't made any mistakes, and his confidence is going to be growing with every pedal stroke.
Yes, but you might have noticed as well a quick little glimpse at the gradient that they're hitting at 11% now. Dan Martin, you can see he's riding just in front of TJ Van Garderen. Richie Porte is also very present, but this group now really is getting distilled down to the top men. 81 right in there as well, Pierre Rolland for the Cannondale Drapac squad. These are all the big names, and I'm just waiting for a move to come as we again see this acceleration.
Here comes the attack. Oh no, it's a counter attack, this one. Is this Nieve gone? As they start the attack, this is Hainauer's attack for Team Sky. What an acceleration, quickly spotted by Movistar. The counter move, it is now Movistar and Sky have gone clear as a group.
Second man in the line there was the man who responded immediately to that acceleration. It was Alejandro Valverde, followed by Chris Froome, followed by Quintana, and getting onto the back of that group was Dan Martin, the Irishman.
And the acceleration has cracked Warren Barguil there. He's dropped off the back.
These kind of accelerations, Phil, are not the accelerations that TJ Van Garderen liked. We were talking to Jens Voigt just that little bit earlier on, and Jens Voigt said Van Garderen is like the big diesel engine. He needs to accelerate slowly. He doesn't like these rapid changes in pace that some of the sprinters can apply.
Pozzovivo just went. Jurgen van den Broek, the Belgian on Katusha, has just gone off the back. This has suddenly become a group of about 18 riders with that acceleration.
Yeah, but not riding too badly there, Phil. In about 10th or 12th position, just behind his teammate Roman Kreuziger, was Alberto Contador. He was telling us the truth when he said he's getting better and better. He's actually, it's not the great place to recover the Tour de France when you have an injury, but certainly he is recovering while these riders are in difficulty.
These riders are very much in difficulty right now. Jakob Fuglsang's in this group as well. This is Barguil. They're watching the riders move away from them. If they can just limit the losses, they might rejoin on the chase down, but it'll be slim pickings. Van den Broek is 147.
Well, Valverde now has said, OK, everybody is in difficulty. I'm going to see what we can do here this afternoon. We will try and eliminate as many of the contenders as possible. And he's also putting into difficulty Mikel Nieve, number 5 at the back for Team Sky. Hanging on to the back there, number 9, Geraint Thomas. He's trying to stay in contact. And there, too, was Adam Yates right on the back. The elastic now is beginning to stretch out.
Well, let's look out for that white jersey coming through of Adam Yates, because if he can hang on, and now Froome is going to say, OK, if we're all in, we're all in. And Chris Froome is now accelerating. Right on his back wheel is Nairo Quintana.
Well, you know, everybody talked tomorrow. Everybody talked Andorra. Everyone was talking about Arcalis, but Chris Froome has said, nah, forget all that. I feel good today. I'm going to have a little bit of a crack. This is the damage that his acceleration now is starting to do.
Cyril Gauthier has gone near his camera. Also, we've now lost a pacemaker. Nieve has gone for Team Sky. Right, that was the acceleration. Now here comes another one.
Dan Martin. He made the move here now. This, you know, Dan Martin is a very clever rider, very astute.
Dan Martin now an accelerator. It's a tester. No. Froome is right onto him, through on the inside. Another rider from Sky has gone.
That was Geraint Thomas, who's now slipped away.
But
now
this is Henao again who's gone.
Henao is up there, Phil, but look who's in second position. That is Nairo Quintana. This is a very good tactical move to blow the race apart inside of the final few meters of this climb.
Has gone here, Paul, but where is TJ Van Garderen? He's just ahead of the red jersey here. Well, the big favourites have started to hit out, and I think Alberto Contador has slipped to the rear of the group. Van Garderen is looking around here, the red jersey. There's Contador now, hanging on. Just ahead of him is Adam Yates. He's going to have to squeeze everything out of that body for yellow tonight.
Just as a little reminder, though, Phil, once you go over the top of this climb, we're now around about 1.5 kilometres to the top of the climb. It's around about 10 miles downhill to the finish line. If you can hang on and go over the top of this climb with a 20 or 30 second deficit, you can make that up on the descent if you've still got good condition.
At this moment in time, Adam Yates, Alejandro Valverde, Chris Froome or Quintana could be the leader of the Tour de France tonight. And we still have just 1 kilometre to go, and then we fly to town.
I just noticed in there at 1 kilometre to go, it looks as if all of a sudden the leadership of Team Tinkoff has been relinquished, because Roman Kreuziger was in there as Alberto Contador slips off the back again, wearing number 31.
Got a chance he'll get back at 1 kilometre to go. This is an attack here by Romain Bardet. Looks over his shoulder. Quintana checks out where Froome is, but he's reacted. Froome comes up as well. And Henao is coming again.
Well, Henao, Colombian, chasing an acceleration from Nairo Quintana. Froome comes onto the wheel of his teammate, but it is rather interesting to see that Roman Kreuziger in that lime green jersey there all of a sudden is not working as a teammate anymore, and I wonder if he's being given the freedom from the team to, in fact, look after his own account.
And still hanging on the white jersey of Yates. Geraint Thomas sitting behind Contador won't help him now. As they come on towards the top of the climb, it looks as though Rafael Majka will be required for the King of the Mountains lead.
Yes, but it also looks as if the man on the right-hand side from Tinkoff may well be the new leader of the squad tonight, because Roman Kreuziger has certainly not waited for Alberto Contador. We're getting so close to the top of the climb now, and still Sky very much in control, but they've been attacked a number of times by the Colombian climber there, Nairo Quintana. It really has created a sort-out, as Alberto Contador is paying the price of the injuries and the crashes he was involved in the first part of this year's Tour.
Now setting a relentless pace towards the summit here. Quintana's up for it along with Froome. Yates is still in there. Remember, Yates needs to finish ahead of Froome to hold the lead. The Baker's dozen, 13 riders going up towards the top of the climb, the last climb of this day, but tomorrow has got everything over this one. Many of these spectators will be Spanish now as they urge on Contador. Looks like Froome is going to go for points in the King of the Mountains here. He won't get the lead today, but he's right in the frame now as last year's winner. He gets the points, and he's going to kick. Now, Chris Froome is going to go for the descent here.
And pulling off there was Nairo Quintana, Phil, to see if anybody was going to help him out. Then all of a sudden he said, oh, I need to pay attention to this. I've got to chase down Chris Froome. At the moment when he thought that Chris Froome was just accelerating to get himself a few mounting points, Froome went right onto the attack, knowing that it's 10 miles downhill to the finish in bagneres de luchon.
First two riders up the climb of the Col de Peyrassard. Froome, the winner of the Tour de France a year ago. Quintana, second in the Tour de France a year ago. The favourites have come to the top.
Well, Froome, Phil, everybody said he was waiting for the climb up towards Andorra, and now all of a sudden he's putting Movistar onto the back foot. It's up to the riders in the blue jerseys there with the yellow helmet, with the lime green helmets, to actually try and chase him down. But that was a very crafty move. It looked as if he was going for kick out of the mountain points, and he went straight over the top.
Well, look at him the way he's out of the saddle. He's kicking all the way down to the bottom here. If he wins the stage, he takes the race lead, as simple as that. And all the plans by the organiser of the Tour de France to not finish a race uphill in the Pyrenees to stop Chris Froome taking the lead will have come to naught.
Sitting on the back there is Adam Yates. He will just be praying at the moment that it all comes back together and he can actually take the overall lead at the end of the day. Theoretically, I would say Chris Froome doesn't have that much of a chance to get himself the victory in this situation. But isn't it interesting the way he's changed his tactics? People would expect him to go for the acceleration like this on the slopes of a mountaintop finish. But he's thrown caution to the wind. He's thrown tactics out of the window as he speeds down this hill at 45 miles an hour. He sees this as another opportunity. Well, that is a very difficult and dangerous position to adopt, but it makes him so very aerodynamic. It improves his coefficient of the penetration in the air, which is why he gets right the way down there into that very weird position. It's very much like a downhill ski racer.
He's just hitting 50 miles an hour, just topping 80 kilometers an hour at the moment. Clipping off the corners like an experienced Formula One race driver here. They're after him, though. They're going to try and get him. If he runs off the bottom with this sort of a lead, they'll pounce on him before the finish. It's a long, flat run-in.
I wouldn't think he's too concerned at the moment, but I think he just sees this as a slightly different tactical approach to trying to take the overall lead in a race like this. And what it's done is everybody was trying to read his tactics. They've read the way that Chris Froome has read the Tour de France in the past, and all of a sudden he's actually taken them, I think, and caught them unawares.
The man chasing is Quintana himself, right on the front and driving just now.
It's not much of an advantage, Phil. Race radio is telling me it's not much more than 7 or 8 seconds. But when you look at this group, there is actually no organised chase. And I'm a little bit surprised to see guys like the two BMC riders leaving it all up to Movistar to do the chasing. Froome is riding at 56 miles an hour, while in the chase group behind, Quintana is only doing 51 to 52 miles an hour.
Adam Yates gambling here at the back now. If Froome wins, he loses because Froome would take yellow. But if he can get him back, he's still back in the mix for the yellow jersey here. Froome is now riding for the jersey he's so familiar, a yellow jersey in the Tour de France, but they're still after him. 12 seconds, he's pulling away.
You've got to bear in mind and throw into the equation, Phil, that there is, with 12 seconds advantage, there's also a 10-second time bonus on the finishing line for the first rider to cross. I don't think I've ever seen Chris Froome get down into this position in a downhill section like this. A reminder, 10 seconds, 6 seconds and 4 seconds time bonus for the first 3 riders to cross the finish. That time bonus is taken off the rider's finishing time. And with so many riders so close in the overall standings, it could be quite critical, the first rider to cross the finishing line on today's stage.
There is Adam Yates, 49 miles an hour, up to 50 now for Froome as he goes under 10 kilometers to go.
Oh, he's taking risks, Phil. This is really interesting to see the tactics that he has adopted here. There we get a chance. It's 11 seconds, the distance between these two. But you have to remember, this is rather strange here because once he gets down into the finishing town of bagneres de luchon, he's only got about 1 to 1.5 kilometers on the flat. He actually now gets to the faster part of the course with no more technical corners. These are what the riders call sweeping bends. No need at all to touch the brakes from now down towards the finish.
Well, Adam Yates, the young kid from Bury in Lancashire, is hanging on to the tail of this group, but they've got to pull back Froome if he wants yellow tonight.
quick reminder, Phil, because just 3 seconds behind Adam Yates in the overall standings is Alejandro Valverde, who is probably the best sprinter in that group behind. Yes, he's doing a lot of work for Nairo Quintana, but if it comes down to the chance of sprinting for the victory on the stage, Valverde will not be very far away. But the moment is, they've actually put a little bit of confusion in with this move by Team Sky's Chris Froome. It's actually, according to Race Radio, now crept up to 14 seconds the advantage.
Well, they're into Caso de la Bourse at the moment. That leaves them 8.5 kilometers to race to the finish in Bagneres de Luchon. As they continue to charge off this mountain, there's still quite a few leaders here. And it looks to me as though Romain Bardet has got back into this group. What do you think, Jens Voigt?
Well, I heard you guys talking about the crafty move. That is British understatement. That is a brilliant move. I mean, really, nobody saw that coming. I'm just blown away. It's brave, it's bold, and it looks like it's successful. I'm just loving watching every second here, and it all left to chase for the two people from Team Movistar. Nobody's going to help them. It's all up to them. So there's a fair chance of Chris Froome actually making this little miracle happen.
Well, you've got to take your hat off to Chris Froome, the outstanding favourite. Yes, he's got the best team. I think we've seen that today. But at the end of the day, the leader has to show why he's the leader, and this is why.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, this is another group a little bit further back here. You can see Geraint Thomas in that group with Mikel Nieve. Also trying to recover there, Alberto Contador and Pierre Rolland. What I think is interesting, Phil, is in the past, Chris Froome's tactics have been criticised. They say, well, he's too predictable. He moves the same way every time he comes through to the Tour de France, and his recipe for the victory is unchangeable. Well, here, he's actually thrown his practical book out of the window, and he's doing a very interesting move, which I think the way we're looking at now, as it creeps up to a 20-second advantage, could well pay off.
Well, these riders are all in sort of disarray here now. It's just a desperate chase to get down to the bottom.
Gets away from that aerodynamic position. He knows these corners perfectly there, Phil. He gets out of that aerodynamic position, knowing that he's got two rather technical corners. That's why he sat back into the saddle. But he's taking very good lines around these corners, using all of the road as much as he can, not to lose any of his momentum.
Interesting name still in that chase group as well. Frank Schleck has got back into that chase group. Kreuziger in that colour of Tinkoff, because he's going to become very much the leader if we continue like this. Now Contador's cracked again. Bit of a speed wobble there by Chris. He's wrestling the bike on these corners.
You've got to remember, Phil, a lot of people just think about Chris Froome because most people only know Chris Froome from seeing him ride at the Tour de France. Well, I can tell you, Chris Froome, when he was representing Kenya many years ago, he went to the Commonwealth Games, and not only did he ride the road race and the individual time trial, but he also represented Kenya in the Commonwealth Games in mountain biking. So he's not a bad bike handler, and he's proving that by the risks that he's taking in these corners.
20 seconds. Froome 100% committed here to take the yellow jersey tonight. Now we've got a counter move here from Bauke Mollema. Is he on the front? No, he's just hanging on the back. 5 kilometers to go. It's coming back. 18 seconds I'm hearing. Richie Ford actually, who's still up here for the, we're alongside TJ Van Garderen.
We're looking here actually at the second chase group on the road behind Chris Froome. This is the group with Wilco Kelderman just a little bit further up. So Warren Barguil. These riders have been caught out by the acceleration of Chris Froome. Geraint Thomas is the rider in 3rd or 4th position.
14 riders, including Chris Froome. A couple have got back onto the back, including Frank Schleck and including Pozzovivo.
4 kilometers to go, and still he's got... Oh, there's a problem here.
Roland's got a problem.
Just trying to see what it was.
It's like it's his gears.
He's
And
crashed.
you look at his shorts, he's fallen off. We never heard anything about that from Roland, and he's still trying to stay with the leaders.
It just gives you an indication, Phil, of how fast Chris Froome is going downhill, and he really has thrown down the gauntlet. I've still got access to the computer here, and he's still riding in excess of 50 miles an hour going down here, while the group behind is 2 or 3 miles an hour faster than him. Slower than him, sorry. Now it's put the BMC riders onto the back foot, onto the defensive. They've seen that Movistar don't have the firepower left anymore to catch Chris Froome, so now they've come to the front to help. That's Richie Porte on the front. He's ably assisting TJ Van Garderen, but they may have left it just a little bit too late, because we're now inside of 3 kilometers to go to the finish, and at these speeds 3 kilometers is pretty much 3 minutes.
Well, we're now hearing confirmation, but we don't need it, about Pierre Roland's crash. But TJ Van Garderen, and they are now getting under just 2 kilometers to go to the finish. This is the Pierre Roland group. They're out of the hunt for the day now. This man is racing for a maillot jaune, as he's done so many times in the Pyrenees and gone on to win the Tour. And he's now in the streets of Luchon.
The way he's going around these corners, I would have to say, this is something that they talked about before they came to the Tour de France, when the riders came down to the Pyrenees and did their reconnaissance rides. You know, a lot of times, I'm just having a quick look at it as we come around this corner. This is the replay I would expect to see the crash of Roland. There he is. In fact, he is just getting up after his accident, because he was in the group a bit further up the road.
Well, that really is bad luck for Pierre Roland, but this man makes his own luck. Chris Froome hit them on the way up the hill and kept going. He's nosed out now 17 seconds. There's a counter-attack, but you know, at the moment, if you get this, is Fabio Aru is going from the front. Last desperate moments here to try and stay in touch with a flyaway British rider up front.
That looks like a response, though, Phil, coming from Nairo Quintana. 1 kilometre to go now for Chris Froome, and he will knock this off at around about 1 minute and 5 seconds to get to the finishing line. He has 2 more corners to take before he gets into the finishing straight. 2 left-hand bends.
1 kilometre to go. This amazing Tour de France for the British cyclists, because this will be their 5th stage win out of a possible 8, and this one is going to be resulting in a yellow jersey for the defending champion of the Tour. If he wins, he gets 10 seconds. That's all he needs to take yellow.
Just a little touch of the mechanism there to change the gear, get himself into the right gear. He's going around these corners like a well-rehearsed attack for him. Here's another little sweeping right-hand bend as he comes into the finishing straight, and then he will see the finishing banner right in front of him.
So the man who won the race and won the King of the Mountains last year, he's now up to 3rd overall in the King of the Mountains this year, but this is what he was looking for. Chris is never afraid to think long-term in the Tour de France. He's proved that before. Taking yellow early in the race doesn't worry him. He can take it, as he's shown us, all the way to Paris. He's not giving away a single second here. If they want time, they better come and run it down, because Chris Froome is taking the victory and the maillot jaune. The defending champion is back on top, and Dan Martin is launching the attack for 2nd place as he's chased there by Rodriguez, I think it is, on his back wheel. Martin gets 2nd. TJ Van Garderen, Quintana safely in the same time in the race for 2nd place.
Yes, but the question is, Phil, what is the time on the clock? This is Sergio Henao coming in. Just the way he's got a flat back tyre there, that was a lot of bad luck for him.
Well, a flat back tyre, he should get the time of the group. Depends where he punctured, but that's not important. Chris Froome has won, and that's important to Sergio.
Well, this is Alberto Contador just over there on the left-hand side. He's with Warren Barguil, but even as he crosses the line on a flat tyre, you can see the smile on the Colombian rider's face. He's not too worried about that, because the team did the job that they were looking for this afternoon. And what a surprise. Forget about trying to predict tactics. That was a great move.
It's a move of pure strength and pure confidence, and when the chips were down, there was nobody in that group could do anything about Chris Froome. They were right to fear him on this day because they said if he attacks, we'll try and follow, but they simply could not follow as Chris Froome made that move. And Contador now is looking at an enormous loss to Chris Froome, and we can say with some confidence he's lost the Tour de France today for sure. As he races up towards the line, this very select group of big names in the Tour de France are going to cross the line at about 1 minute 40 seconds off the pace. The German Emmanuel Bachmann in that group too.
And just coming across the line at the back end of that group, you might just have caught a quick glimpse there of Pierre Rolland. Here is confirmation, the gap between Froome and Dan Martin, 13 seconds across the line in third place, Joachim Rodriguez. But
Chris, congratulations. It was a preposterous surprise attack, and it all looked planned. Tell us about it.
Oh, it definitely wasn't planned. That was something that, just as we were going over the top there, I thought, why not? Let me give it a go. And just, I knew the descent was long and fast, and I had some pretty good gears on today, bigger gearing. So it was in the back of my mind. I was thinking maybe I could try this. And I tried, and I heard Sergio on the radio saying, yeah, you've got a gap, go, 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 keep going. And yeah, so I just rode it as best I could to the finish. And I know I did spend a lot of energy there, but I imagine everyone was pedaling pretty fast on that descent.
Pretty fast, and hitherto Peter Sagan has been the one with the crazy, wacky style, but now you're going to be all the anthologies of crazy pedal styles. That you must have practiced.
No, I mean, yeah, we do mess around in training, racing each other downhill sometimes, so that obviously comes in handy. But, I mean, I just want to thank my teammates today. They rode out of their skins all day. It was such a hard stage today, from the beginning, everyone wanting to go in the break, and you could see the peloton, everyone was just on the limit, so, yeah.
What was the thinking on the Pay Resort when Henao and you were giving it the old 1-2?
Well, I mean, Henal's still up there on GC. He's doing really well. He's in great shape. He's another card for us to play. I mean, if he goes up the road and manages to take a gap, take a stage, he could see himself in yellow. So that's what we were trying there.
Well, speaking of yellow, I think you've got to go and get it.
Oh, am I in yellow?
I think so.
Not yet confirmed.
Not yet confirmed.
I didn't expect it.
There was plenty that was unexpected about today, especially for the men who finished behind Chris Froome. Dan Martin being the closest of them, although that group all got the same time, 13 seconds, including Fabio Aru, Adam Yates, Richie Porte, Nairo Quintana and TJ Van Garderen. Alberto Contador lost a minute 41, Thibaut Pinot 16 minutes after his early escape, Vincenzo Nibali and Greg Van Avermaet nearly 26 minutes. Well, whether he was planning for yellow, expected it, or even realised he'd got it till we told him, Chris Froome now has yellow, although not by much. Adam Yates and Joaquim Rodriguez are 16 seconds behind him, a second ahead of Dan Martin. Then come the Movistar pair of Valverde and Quintana at 19 and 23. In fact, the whole of the top 10 is within 23 seconds of the lead. Roman Kreuziger's high placing today seemed to confirm that he's riding for himself now, not his team leader. He's 12th at 34 seconds, Alberto Contador 20th at 3 minutes 12. It was 2 white jersey presentations in one day for Adam Yates, which must be some sort of record. He was happy that his injuries didn't prevent him from staying with the lead group.
As everyone saw, I had a pretty bad luck yesterday, but no, I'm okay. You know, a few stitches in my chin and a few cuts and bruises, but honestly, I got off pretty lucky. As I said yesterday, it could have been a lot worse. You know, if it was in a sprint stage and that came down, you know, it could have been horrific. But no, I'm okay. And today was pretty tough, but I got through okay. And yeah, congrats to Froome. Put on a hell of a ride, and yeah, if he keeps this up, he'll be standing on the top step at the podium in Paris.
Mark Cavendish and Bernie Eisel managed to attach themselves to the back of the autobus, which rolled in just inside 40 minutes after the leader and inside the time limit. He rolled straight onto the podium for the green jersey presentation, by which time French television had gone home.
I hate the Pyrenees so much. Like I always say about it, like the road's melting under your tyres, you know. You feel soft, you're throwing up over yourself. I can't deal with it. I'm from the Isle of Man, man. I can't deal with this heat. And cooked myself a bit early. I was following Peter around, and then he was trying to get in a break for the intermediates, and I just had to follow him before we got to that sprint. Already by the time we hit Tourmalet, I was just a little bit uh-oh. And I just, like, actually we got scientific. We knew if we rode at a certain amount of watts per kilo, we'd make it just. But then I had a puncture on the last climb on Perisud, and that backed off a good minute, you know, but we calculated to the minute, and we just went crazy on the descent, because you don't know if anything happens in the last little bit. Well, in the end of the day, we were in it by 5 minutes anyway.
Well, Mark Cavendish might have been racing down the Perisord to make the time limit, but I bet he wasn't doing it like this.
Dave, it's not often we see something genuinely new in the Tour de France. Today we saw something on the descent that we have never seen before. I don't know whether they'll call it the food processor, the smoothie maker, but that descending position is obviously something that Chris has been working on.
You didn't see that coming. Neither did anybody else.
Talking of which, we didn't see this at the time either, and neither did the spectator on the end of it, I suspect. A Colombian fan getting closer than Chris Froome felt comfortable with and getting a bony blow to the head.